I've been a historian for at least 25 years. I've been interested in history ever since I was a child and listening to the elders tell stories. And as for the tales of haunts and ghosts and such in the Low Country area, the area is full of them. Right now, we are by the statue of Denmark Vesey, a man who tried to unsuccessfully to lead the African Americans in Charleston area to fight for their freedom, literally in a slave rebellion of 1822. But unfortunately, he was caught and executed. One of his comrades was a man known as Gullah Jack Pritchard. Gullah Jack was what was known as a conjurer or sorcerer, if you will, who used the people's beliefs in ghosts and spirits to encourage them to join Denmark Vesey's unsuccessful revolution. And he would use that belief to get African Americans who still believed in such things to join his revolt by saying that these Haints and spirits would attack them if they didn't join his revolution.
Gullah Jack came from the Angola tribe of people. The Gollahs, the Angolas and the Dongolas were very, very powerful spiritually, and they were very, very independent. So they did not really like to be captured. Most of the people, when it was that time to testify against Gullah Jack, refused to testify. They were willing to die physically than actually cause harm to this man, because they know in the spiritual realm, he was just as powerful as he is on the physical realm.
Beyond Gullah culture and beyond African Americans, folks who may be Southern or Native whites talk about ghost stories. I mean, throughout Charleston today, you can take a ghost tour. But I think there's a uniqueness when you bring in the word Hank or haunt, because of the Africanism that's there. That's the central part that we want folks to understand. That's a part of our culture, a part of our legacy. As we came across on enslaved ships, that tradition, that knowledge, that experience, that know-how, that connectivity also came.
I don't really use the word haint. I use the word hag because it really, I think, connects a lot deeper with the African spiritual world when it comes down to that. When you talk about haint, you're just like explaining a malevolent energy, okay? But when you talk about a hag, now you actually personify that energy.
Dr. Lorenzo Dowd Turner, who was the first African-American who studied Gullah culture seriously, he recorded a number of ghost stories and haint stories from his informants. He recorded a story from Mary Smalls of nearby Johns Island, who said that a haint tried to attack her on several occasions, and the haint changed into a cat and a bird as well as a cow, I believe, and by making different noises.
It can shape shift, it can actually shed its skin, it can attach itself to a different person, it can be a person.
Gullah culture and language, there's a variation, whether you're on James Island, whether you're in Mount Pleasant, whether you're in Georgetown, whether you're in St. Helena, or whether you're on Defusky or Sapelo, all part of the Gullah Geechee corridor from Wilmington, North Carolina to St. Augustine, Florida. But the bottom line, the tradition, the experience, and the knowledge is one. The way the word may be pronounced may be different depending where you are, but the experience is the same.
If you're in your room and you're laying down in your bed and it's pitch black dark and your mind is at ease, there's a very possibility that you can feel breath on your face. And a lot of times your eyes go black, so you actually don't see that energy. You can only feel the weight shifting on your bed. At that point, then your body becomes paralyzed. You can move your eyes, you can open them, you can't quite clearly see, you can breathe, but your chest gets weighted on. You are blacked out with this energy on you. But a lot of times, if there is nothing that actually interrupts this energy, then you will be a different person after your session with the hag. So you have to be aware of all the negative energies that are around you and the people that are around you, because it can be in any shape, form, or fashion.
I think my storytelling comes from just knowing the real story of real people. And I think that's where a lot of my my passion is at. It's telling real stories about real people. I'm a full-time filmmaker. I started my company around 2012. With Haint, I really laid deep into some of the stories that really affected me as a child. And that was that boo hag, man. They used to tell us those stories growing up about the hag riding you at night. And man, that would freak me out. And that was as a kid. And as a grown-up, like, it still kind of bothers me. So that's one of those things when you write, you want to write what you know. You want to write what you understand. Like, what can you write that's going to come across most authentic because you lived it. You can't get so caught up in just the scares. You have to have a good story. Like, you can't rely on just your jump scares and the little flickering of the lights and your music score. Like, you have to have a story that's gonna stick with the audience, because that's the only way that the fear is gonna stick with them. If they can see themselves in that predicament of, oh crap, that could be me. So it's all about really sucking your audience in, letting them know you're watching this movie, but you're the potential victim. And at the same time, giving the rules and the world where they can see themselves, like having a real authentic horror experience. The folks that raised you, they're not young no more. Like, they're getting older. Like, we don't want to lose those stories. We don't want to lose that culture. So I felt like our generation needs to be more responsible for continuing the culture and keeping those stories going.
I remember walking by a graveyard one day, and there was a gentleman named Joe Blunt who had recently died. So I was about 10 at the time, and I pointed to the grave and I said, hey, look, that's Joe Blunt's grave. And my cousin said, bite your finger, bite your finger. And I said, why? Because if you point at somebody's grave, the ghost is gonna make your finger rot off. And I thought it was silly, but my dad always told me that when my relatives said such things, to just be quiet and go along with them. So I bit my finger and kept it moving.
I asked for the positive energies.
It's important today in this conversation that we're having that we respect this and not see it as some type of folklore or some type of fiction or something that's make-believe. This is in the experience of Gullah Geechee people that they believe in, that they firmly believe in, and probably some things about our culture and our landscape we may not always talk about publicly. By us being open and honest. 25 years ago, probably we wouldn't have this conversation because we were not in a place and space where we were celebrating or making public the awareness of this knowledge. And so even in this conversation, I hope those who listen and see it can have education, awareness, and understanding.